another episode of the Let's Talk Early Years podcast, where we bring you conversations to spark curiosity, care, and compassion in the early years. I am your host, Melanie Karim, and in studio with me today, the renowned Louise Dawson, chatting to me about neurodiversity with a special focus on autism. Welcome in studio, Louise Dawson.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's good.
Louise, it's such a privilege. I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for waking up this early. You have had the longest day yesterday. I believe you made such a meaningful impact at the Bridges to Barriers. Is that what it was called, the
yes.
conference?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome. It was a GEMS conference, and they had passionate educators from all over the UAE. So whilst it was managed and run and put on by GEMS and sponsored by Nessie and myself and a couple of others, they invited people from all over the region. So it wasn't exclusively for GEMS staff, which is one of the things. It was inclusive, so it was really good. And we had some really good speakers, some really good trainers. And due to the sponsorship and the input from GEMS, all of the educators received that for free, which is
phenomenal.
Yeah, really good.
Could it be an annual event?
I think they're looking at it. Yes, I think they're looking at it.
I think there was some meaningful impact happening there yesterday.
Yeah.
So I do thank you.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you. And I love that I can share you with our early years community. For those that don't know you, who is Louise Dawson?
Me too, yes. Who is she?
Yeah.
Is that a question?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Tell us.
Okay. Ooh, who is she?
Yeah.
So she is a person who struggled at school. She then left school and went into business and did 20 years in business. She then became a mummy and has 3 autistic ADHD children. And as a result of feeling stressed and anxious about their education and wanting them to be educated, I retrained as a teacher 20 years ago.
Wow.
So I trained as a teacher, became a mainstream teacher, then a special needs teacher, and then a SENCO, then came out here, head of inclusion. And so we've been here now 14 years, 10 years employed by schools, and for the last 4 years self-employed. And I now run a business where we have 3 sections. We have teacher training, school improvement, helping schools to adjust to inclusive education and understanding what that means. The second part is we promote different products, so we don't take commission, but we speak about products or softwares that help schools to be inclusive. Softwares where where maybe it might be literacy, or products like Widget, the visuals, implementing that into schools. So we take the tried and tested products and help promote them. And then the third part is I have a children's skills centre in Arjan. So when I need to work directly with families, with children or with parents, I have a space in Arjan to do that. So 3 elements to the business. Makes for a busy, busy life.
Absolutely. And phenomenal impact for inclusion and inclusivity and education on the whole.
I hope so. That's the
We are
game.
grateful. We are so grateful to you.
I don't need you to be grateful. I need you to be curious about.
We are, and that's why you're here with us today, Louise.
That's all.
Yeah, Louise, you were saying you struggled at school. How so?
Oh, I left school at, I was about 14 and a half, nearly 15, so 14, and not very many qualifications. I wasn't very academic, and I think that's the biggest point, is just because we're not academic at 13, 14, it doesn't mean we're not going to be academic later on. So, obviously I have all my qualifications now. I did my degree when I was 35. I have 4 or 5 different master's level qualifications, but at school, so I don't feel like. So we were given topics I didn't buy into, and I think that's so I now know that I'm autistic ADHD, and so that's the reason why I struggled when I was a young person. But we didn't know that then, we didn't talk about it. So everyone says now, oh, everybody's ADHD or everybody's autistic. Yeah, but we always have been. I'm of an age, we didn't have the MMR vaccine. It isn't the vaccine, full stop, period. No, there's no debate
Done.
on it. Done.
Okay.
Let's close that one off.
Yeah.
Even though 20 years on, we're still talking about it, it's not. So, because I'm of an era where it was before vaccine. I'm of an era where we did play outside. I'm of an era where all the things it would help us if we played outside more, but that's not really possible in the temperatures and the heat. But it's not the cause. There's no cause of autism or ADHD or any of the neurodiverse conditions. So I did all of those things. I played outside. I had a supportive family. You know, it runs in the family. It totally runs in the family. So even then within the classroom, if it wasn't a topic I enjoyed, so I can talk about this. I can sit here now that I'm here and I'm awake, I can now talk about this all day and it'll just keep on coming out of me. But if you then ask me a question about something else, like something I'm not interested in, like cars, or I don't know, there's many topics I can't even think of what topics I'm not interested in because they don't interest me. So I can't do it. So if I'm in a science lesson at 14 and I have no interest in forces, I'm not going to learn about forces, and I'm not then going to do an essay on forces, and I'm not going to accomplish an assessment on forces because I haven't got the interest in it.
Right.
Now it's different. I actually retrained to be a science teacher, but at the time of 14, not my thing at all.
Wow.
Really, really strange.
Wow.
So I think inclusion for me is about allowing children to grow, allowing them to develop, allowing them to follow their passions.
Yeah.
If you want to know if a child can use full stops and commas, then let them write a paragraph about something they're interested in.
And we might
Don't
just
give them the topic, and then you might just see the commas and the full stops.
Wow.
Right?
That is so interesting.
Buy into the kids rather than force content on them.
Right. Louise, you spoke a while ago on Dubai One. A little excerpt from one of your clips there said that our teachers were not necessarily trained, particularly in this field. So reflecting back on your childhood, how did that impact you?
But the impact it had on me then is the same impact it's having on majority of children now. It is that within teacher training, there is very little information about, you know, if you ask a typical teacher, what is neurodiversity? Typical teachers wouldn't be able to answer you.
Yeah.
How do you accommodate for children? And this is what I train in all day, every day. So I speak from the experience of sitting opposite brilliant teachers of their subject, brilliant, passionate children, kind, caring people. They do the job because they love the job, right? So I'm in no way bashing teachers because it's not their fault, right? So it's about, did they have teacher training with inclusion? It's not in majority of curriculums, whether, you know, because we're here in the UAE where we have 18 different curriculums. I think it's 18, might be 19 now, different curriculums. And so those teachers are coming from every country from across the world. And obviously every country is at a different stage of teacher training and education.
Right.
And so a lot of our teachers don't know how to manage and adapt and differentiate and support our children with universal design. So how did it impact me? In exactly the same way as it's impacting them. Now, it hasn't really. Society has evolved, society has changed, the classrooms have evolved. Where you have passionate educators who are interested, it has miraculously evolved. But there's still a lot of gaps where teacher training is still not completely filling it. Yeah. So my criticism would be of teacher training and government regulation, not within the UAE, because majority of our teachers are trained outside the country.
Right.
I know that there's a couple of universities here who are now doing teacher training for teachers here, so we can home grow our own teachers. And I know that their teacher training is including inclusion in a much more depth.
Wow.
But you know, if I think back to my own teacher training, I had no modules on inclusion, special needs, gifted and talented, second language, EAL.
Yeah.
None at all.
Yeah. Louise, what is neurodiversity?
Well, that's a really big question.
Break it down for us, because we are teachers, and like you're saying, we haven't had particular training.
Sure,
so give
absolutely.
it to us in a bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, absolutely, in a human way.
Yeah.
No problem. So on the outside, we have different heights, we have different skin colours, we have different eye colours, we have different hands. Every part of us on the outside is different. Neurodiversity is that every part on the inside is also different. So we have different ways of thinking, we have different interests, different speeds of thinking, different. And neurodiversity is just all of that difference on the inside as opposed to just on the outside. That's the really easy, and I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor and I don't profess to be. If you just think that every single person is different on the outside and every single person is different on the inside, then you've kind of got neurodiversity in the easiest, broadest sense.
Very, very palatable. Thank you.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things I try and do is, because I'm not a scientist, although I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical practitioner, I haven't, taken apart a brain and worked out what's going on. Not many people have.
Right.
So I think one of the things I do is I take quite complex thinking and make it really simple, because I think I need it quite simple.
Yes, I think
and
all
so
of us.
because I need it
Yes.
simple, I deliver it in a simple way.
Absolutely.
One which my goal is to make teachers curious. We'll come on to that, I think, a little bit later.
Yeah.
But, just about being curious.
Yeah. So how does autism fit into neurodiversity?
Yeah. So in that, different heights, we then have different communication styles, we have different writing styles, physical styles. Autism is a series of presentations, and it's quite complex because you have, we used to call it the spectrum, okay? And so say you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colours in that spectrum, okay? We used to say we're on the spectrum, low spectrum, high spectrum. We used to use words like low ability or high ability. But if you think of those colours as different presentations, okay, so you've got behaviour, you've got communication, speech, you've got communication, listening, processing, all of these different, you've got behaviour, you've got the sensory needs, all of these different needs. Every single person with autism is going to have those needs at a different level. So the spectrum wasn't helpful to us because it implied that you could have low sensory need, low communication need, low eyesight, eye communication, all of the things were low. And what we know about autism now is that actually you can have really good eye contact. I have quite good eye contact. I know I do this quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, I don't know why I do that, but that's me. So, but I can look you in the eyes. I'm going to do it
And
now.
you are.
But I don't know if that's a little bit forced because I grew up in a generation where we were told to look at each other in the eyes. So I think I've learned to do it, but am I comfortable doing it? Now that I know I'm autistic, I know that I'm not comfortable doing it. I do it because it's socially acceptable. And that's where some therapies force that social acceptableness, not what is actually comfortable for us. And that's what causes anxiety, and then that's what causes us to become depressed or to shut away because it's exhausting. So I have come in, it's Sunday morning. I did stand all day talking to people. I am socially exhausted. We talk in our family and in a lot of places now, we talk about social battery. So we wake up in the morning and our social battery is high, and then through the day it wipes itself out.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So this morning I've woken up. My social battery is actually empty because I've
I would not say that.
But I can mask it and put it on for an hour.
Yeah.
But what you won't see, and what you don't see with children, is that when they get home, they shut down because they've acted and masked all day. And often that will result in temper tantrums when they get home. They will melt down when they get home. We often hear of children, oh, your child's brilliant in school. He sits, he's quiet, he does all his work, he's amazing. But when he gets home, he trashes his bedroom, he won't eat, he won't talk to his mum or dad, or screams at mum when they get into the car at the end of the day. Or dad, lots of dads do pick up nowadays. And so we don't see all of those different presentations.
Yes.
So people don't know what it's like to live with me. And that's very different to the public persona.
And you're saying they're exhausted just from trying to be socially acceptable.
To be something that you're not naturally,
Yes.
because it's not socially acceptable to be like that.
Right. Louise, in the early years, how could we as educators, as parents, like from 0 to 5, what are some of the red flags that we might be experiencing?
Okay, so lots of people use the word red flags.
Yes,
and,
please.
And I know that.
And help me, because you spoke earlier, sorry,
okay.
keep that point so we don't
I will,
lose it.
I will.
But you spoke earlier we spoke about the spectrum before. So to follow up,
Oh,
I
right,
want
so
you,
now-
I want you to tell us after this question, what are some of the words, the phrases, the language help us?
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's way longer than one podcast.
Okay, so-
we could probably do an hour on each word. Okay, so
So
instead
tell
of
me
the
just
spectrum
in
now,
the classroom, what am I looking out for?
yeah. So in the spectrum, we now do it like a spider diagram. You know where you cross all of the points, and each segment, a bit like Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah.
Each segment is a different. You can give it a different colour, but it's a different presentation. So that is your behaviour, your sensory need, taste, sight, vision, all of those presentations. And so what we recognise that each wedge of the Trivial Pursuit can be at a different level. So you can have somebody who has brilliant eye contact. You can have someone who has low eye contact, and so that wedge is going to be higher or lower. You can have children with sensory needs. Some children, you can't touch them. Some children, you can hug them to death.
Yes.
Some children, so the Trivial Pursuit wheel now, we recognise that every child is at a different level for every wedge. When we use words like red flags, we're implying, because red for me is a very negative colour. I think in society it's a very negative
Yes.
colour. So red
Yes.
flags implies it's something that's bad.
Yeah.
So let's be curious. Is it bad to not have eye contact? No, it doesn't make you a bad person. Is it bad to not like cold food? No, it's okay to not like cold food. Is it bad to want to sit quietly instead of be in a noisy environment? No. So red implies it's bad. Well, actually, it's not bad. We just have to accept that people are different. Now, I have to say the early years does neurodiversity and inclusion really well, because in today's modern classrooms, in early years, you've got different stations. You do have a beanbag where children can sit quietly. You do have somewhere where they can paint and be free to express themselves. You do have a place where they can write in the sand and start forming their letters. You have got Numicon or Lego bricks to help children with their numeracy. So when I walk into an early years classroom, I can go and play with the dinosaurs in the water, or I can go and sit quietly with a book. So early years is set up for that explorative play. Transform that into a 12-year-old's classroom. They go in, they sit at a chair on a table, they listen to the teacher explain the lesson, they then might get a practical or something hands-on to do, but if it's an English lesson, they will have little of that because of the nature of the subject,
Right.
not criticising it. They will have to analyse Shakespeare. They might not like Shakespeare, they might not get Shakespeare. And we're wanting them to learn the art of point, evidence, explain. It's a bit more complex than that when it gets to the higher years. But if they have to point, evidence, explain on a text they don't enjoy, they're probably not going to engage very well. And then you're going to say they can't point, evidence, explain.
Right.
But if you give them a piece of literature around Lego, they might point, evidence, explain better than you or I could. So I think early years does it quite well,
Yeah.
very well.
Well, our philosophy is every child is unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
We lose that the higher we go up the education years. So I'm very pro early years. And it can be done. And that's what universal design is. Universal design allows that to happen in the early upper years.
Right.
So and I did it this week on Wednesday. I went into a school. Actually, it was 3 schools amalgamated into one, and we did a universal design lesson. So instead of me standing at the front and lecturing the teachers on you will do this, you will do this, you will do this, not showing them how you do that in the upper years, I actually designed the adult lesson around universal design and let them experience it.
And what is it, please?
So universal design is early years.
Right.
You have all of these different stations,
Yes.
and the children can all buy into what they want to buy in at the moment. They have to go around the whole carousel at some point.
Right.
And if they don't naturally engage in that, as early years providers, you go in and say, come on, let's go and work with the
Let's have a
dinosaurs in the
try.
water. I want
Yes.
you to experience sinking and floating. And you will guide them to that. That's universal design.
Right.
So in a secondary classroom, that's going to be, I want you to, you're going to have your topic, I want you to explore forces. Now, some of you might want to do that through a video or through a podcast or through writing or through art. You might want to write a poem or write a song. So it's about the input, the different styles of input. The the different styles of then exploring and expanding your knowledge, and then a different style of output.
I love it.
So that's Universe. That's quite easy.
I love it. Yeah,
I do too.
I love, as you said earlier on in our conversation, that we're evolving.
Yeah.
We're growing.
Absolutely.
We've come a long way from perhaps when you were in school.
100%.
Yeah, let's talk about that language. Let's talk about
so
those.
anything we've read in it, I'd probably try and dissuade. Anything where we think of it as a deficit rather than a difference. So I don't call it ADHD, is attention hyperactivity. I do know my answers. Hold on, do that again. I can't fluff up ADHD. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the language, Louise, and those words and phrases that we sometimes unintentionally, for lack of, like you say, training, and knowledge and exposure, help us.
Yes, I think it's about experience, more than anything. So a condition like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I change the disorder to difference, okay? Because then I'm not disordered, okay? Yes. I move, the medical model is very much about diagnosis and treatment, and diagnosis and treatment implies I'm going to cure. Therapy implies we're going to cure. You are never going to cure me of my autism. You're never going to cure another child of autism. It doesn't happen. You can give us support to access life. You can give us support to help us to understand what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. But actually what you need to be doing is saying, what environment makes you most successful? Let's help you to do that. The child who's running out of the classroom is communicating. I don't want to be in this classroom.
Yes.
How do we help them to be in the classroom?
Right.
Is it too noisy? Is it too chaotic? The child who's biting you is saying either they're angry and they can't tell you, or they have a sensory need where they have to chew. Give them something to chew.
Right.
And I make that sound really simple, and I know it's really complex. I've worked with children for 3 or 4 years and not been able to really grasp what they need.
Right.
But I do know that maturity has a lot to do with it.
Right.
So they will grow
Yes.
and mature. Not grow out of it, but grow to manage it.
To self-manage.
Yeah, self-manage. And not control. Control is the more you try and control me,
I think you're setting
which is
yourself
why I'm
up for
self-employed.
failure, right?
The more you try and control me, the more I will push against you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, example, if you say to me, I can't think of an example, but so like food. If you said to me, "We're having chicken tonight," my default is I don't want chicken. That's my default, without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
If you said to me, "Do you want stir-fried Thai chicken or do you want a chicken biryani?" Then, oh yeah, today I fancy chicken biryani. I'll have a biryani. Okay, so it's all about choice.
Yes.
Do you, when I remember when my youngest was putting on their shoes, I don't want to put on my shoes. I say, do you want the red shoes or the black shoes?
Right.
Rather than put on your shoes.
It's just an awareness.
It's just a different. Just give young people control.
Yes.
And I think we're also evolving.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit quirky in that I do think that autism is the future, not the past. Okay, I do think, so my oldest is in artificial intelligence. I'm allowed to talk about my kids. They've given me permission. Because they're now in their 20s, so they have full permission for me to. It was a bit tricky when they were younger. They didn't, you can't give informed consent when you're younger,
Right.
We shouldn't talk about
Exactly.
our children when they're younger because they don't give consent.
Yes.
But they're older. So if I had lost my train of thought.
Shoes.
Yeah.
AI.
Yes, okay. And so my oldest, who has given me permission to talk, he's in artificial intelligence. Now, he probably won't mind me saying that he would struggle to write an essay by hand. The pen control, the physical effort it takes, the processing the thought in a structured way to be able to put it down on paper. If you give him a computer and he can muddle up his thoughts and he can because he can touch type, it's a muscle memory, so he's not thinking about the spelling because his hands do it automatically. He doesn't have to think about the structure because if he misses something, he can go back and put that in.
Right.
But he can code and do AI in a way that I don't know many people can.
Yes.
He's very senior in what he's doing now.
Yes.
He's earning shed loads of money, and he's doing really well. But he would struggle to write, "Dear Mum, happy birthday, love me,"
Yes.
but he can code, and he would struggle with full stops and exclamation marks.
Yes.
But he wouldn't struggle with the brackets, and if you know anything about coding,
yeah.
one dot in the wrong place is going to make the robot fall apart or make the program not work. But he can do that.
Yes.
But he can't do it in typical text.
Right.
So it's about finding the children's passions and loves and allowing them to grow with that.
Louise,
very convoluted.
Language, other, phrases that we might be using. You spoke about the spectrum, and that we don't
presentations. So I don't use diagnosis and treatment and cure. I use identification. Many people in the community, it's not just me. I talk about identification of those presentations and then strategies to support those presentations.
Right.
So I think that's the whole social model, moving away from it being a deficit.
Right.
So you struggle to do your tie your shoelaces. Is that an important skill right now, or can we use Velcro? Use Velcro.
Right.
Because you can use Velcro all through your adult life.
Exactly.
You can use slip-on shoes.
Yes. Let's not overcomplicate things here.
I remember one of my boys would struggle to do the school tie.
Yeah.
So as a mum, I sewed the tie into place, so all he had to do was raise it and push it back up again. Right? So it's those strategies.
Yes.
So I knew that he would need to wear a tie for school.
Yes.
So toe it. Then he didn't look stupid in the changing rooms. He didn't, he might have to raise it up, but he didn't. It's about not making them do stuff they don't
want to.
It's about that are in control, but also that the fine motor control might, and does it matter if his fine motor control is not strong? No, it doesn't.
Yes.
So it's about keeping a bit realistic and
and being reflective. I'm also hearing
curious,
you say
curious is the word.
Yeah,
curious.
I love that.
Why is that child leaving the room?
Yeah.
Why is that child chewing? Why is that child not able to raise their tie? Is that a skill they need right now, or can that wait till they're 20?
Absolutely.
It can wait till they're 20.
It can wait. Louise, you do something really profound in the community for educators. You do...
Do I?
You do, amongst other things, you do a quality assurance that aligns with the KHDA standards.
Yes, I do.
Can you speak to that briefly?
Absolutely. So I want all schools to be the very best that they can be. I want all children to receive the best education that they can. And, being self-employed, I find that it's really good because I can get in and support schools to move up. So we do have a quality assurance framework. I would say to any educator, you don't work towards the framework, you work towards what's right for the children. But having good quality assurance framework helps us to improve our provision for children.
Right.
So
it gives us a tangible
methodology.
Yeah.
So is there any reason why any school can't be outstanding for inclusion? Absolutely not. You can be, and it's quite easy. It's not easy.
It's doable.
Not easy. It's totally doable. The thing is that people hang it on the head of inclusion or the SENCO, and it's not a one-person job. Inclusion is a community job. It comes from the children, from the parents, from the wider community. It comes from the teachers and the principal and the owners of the school. You're not inclusive if your ramps are very steep.
Yeah.
You have to be lower. Otherwise, you're causing a health and safety hazard.
Right.
You're not inclusive if you don't have an accessible parking spot. You're not inclusive if you don't have an accessible bathroom. Those are things that heads of inclusion don't have any control over.
Yes.
So the audit takes the framework, breaks it down into a manageable series of activities, and then if you comply with those activities, then you go up the rating in inclusion. So it's very, very simple. So the first one is about governance and ownership, and making sure that you have an inclusion governor, making sure that you have quality checks in place. So as part of the audit, what I do is I go into educational establishments, I work with the leadership team and the inclusion team, and I work out what they've got, and then I suggest to them, I don't tell them anything, they're free to do what they want to do, but make suggestions for tangible things that they can do to improve and move up. Education is a ladder, you take one step at a time.
Yes.
Quality assurance is a ladder, you take one step at a time.
Yeah.
But people get halfway up the ladder and then they look down, it's a bit scary, they look up, it's a bit scary, they don't know how to take the next step.
Right.
And, having managed outstanding provision, I'm able to help them to take the next step. And so from that, we can help with the self-evaluation, and from that, we can help with the action plan. And as long as you know you've got to do it, you've then got time to do it.
Yes.
People think you have to be perfect tomorrow.
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect tomorrow. Just do one thing tomorrow, And at the end of the year, you'll have 365 things that you've accomplished.
Wow, I love that.
And that's education. And for
I
me,
love
that's
that,
special
Louise.
needs.
Yeah,
Right?
I love
Special needs
that.
as well. Child can't do their shoelaces. Before you can even do fine motor control, you've got to have shoulder control. So let's run around, let's climb some trees.
Yeah.
Difficult in this country. Let's climb some walls. Let's grow their
Hit the
core
growth
structure.
motor.
Let's
Yes.
do those sensory circuits. Do it for 6 weeks. If there's improvement, keep going. If there's no improvement, shelve it. Try something else for 6 weeks.
Right.
And stop repeating and repeating. I know kids who have been in spelling intervention for 6 years. It's not going to happen. They're not going to spell.
Yeah.
So put them on technology.
Yeah.
Technology is there now.
Yes.
We can do that spelling
Yeah.
through tech. So yeah.
Louise, where can we access you and then this framework or some guidance, some help? You come into schools, you do talks for schools. Where can we find you?
I do parent talks for free. I do 2 a month. I've had to, I could do free parent talks all the time, but that doesn't pay my rent. So we do 2 free parent talks a month. We schedule it out, so book early. I'm on all social medias, Louise Inclusion. And I have a website, louisedawson.com. Lots of free information, especially for parents on there. We signpost out to occupational therapy, speech and language, all different services. It's growing. I'm trying to create a directory online so that so everybody has access to affordable, rigorous support. If they are listed, they're just in the community. If they are a partner, and it says clearly that they're a partner, if they're a partner, it means that I've tried them, tested them, they're reputable, they're neuro-affirming, and that you're going to have a good experience.
Lovely.
Generally. So,
Thank you.
LouiseDawson.com.
Thank you. Louise, if there were one word of wisdom, one phrase of wisdom that you could leave us with as your last words today, what would they be?
Curious, just remain curious, learn, grow and develop, but don't expect to be perfect. I'm not perfect, because with special needs, every single child is different, every family is different, so you can't be perfect, you can't be an expert. I don't call myself an expert, I'm a specialist. We can't be that, because neurodiversity is I'm an expert in children's height. Well, there's so many different heights. How can you be an expert in all of them? You can't. So be curious. And when you're looking at a situation or you're looking at a child, one of the things we say a lot in the business is why. 5 whys. Why are they running out of the room? Because they're not happy in the room. Why are they not happy in the room? Because it's too noisy. Why is it too noisy? Because it's too small. We've got no outside space. We've got music going at the same time as kids screaming, at the same time as tannoy is going. Why is that? Because we haven't regulated it. So that's 3 whys we've got to the bottom of one child's struggles. If you do that for every child, 5 whys will usually come to, and that's all I do. Why are the kids out of class? Why are the kids not there? Why? Be curious. Just be curious. It's my word of the year. We've done inclusion, we've done tolerance. This community is one of the most tolerant, accepting communities for multiculturalism, all different reasons, and now we move to special needs, and let's have those hearing impairments and vision impairments and physical impairments. Let's have them out in the community and see what they can offer us, because they can offer us something, if only the ability to learn kindness. Not charity, kindness.
Kindness. Yeah. I love that. Louise Dawson, it has been a phenomenal
privilege,
a phenomenal pleasure to sit here. I think we could chat the
Probably.
whole day.
I could.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, it's a very, very complex thing.
Yeah.
So my oldest is 27, so I've been in the autistic world for 27 years. I knew it from the moment he was born that he was very, very different. No one listened to me for 5 years because he's actually quite articulate. He's not articulate, but bright. He's very, very bright.
Yes.
So he could do things. Oh, he can't be autistic. He can, and it's ruled out because he can. So I can talk. I can do eye contact. I can act and perform in a very, very typical way. But there's lots of things that I struggle with, and there's lots of reasons why people don't like my personality. So I'm not popular everywhere. And if people have been in senior leadership trying to manage me, they would say that I'm unmanageable, because I am.
And that's okay.
That doesn't make me a bad person.
Yes.
It means, I have a way, and my way is successful, and if people don't listen, I get upset. but that's us, and
We
that's
love
okay.
you. We love you.
I
And we
quite
love
like
having
myself
you here.
too. So
Thank
you're very, very welcome.
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
Louise. That was Louise Dawson reminding us that inclusion is not about a checklist, it is a commitment. Well, this is the final episode of season 2, and I would love to just thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your amazing engagement. And thank you to all of our guests who just make the podcast amazing. Yeah? So thank you to them and thank you to all the listeners. Season 3 is, well, ready to roll. So I'm excited about that. You'll just follow us on Instagram and catch all the snippets there. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. This is Let's Talk Early Years.